Well, I think it's very relevant at the moment. Tax Talk has reported in their latest issue that in 2010 the receiver of revenue is going to benefit some 7 billion rand on the FIFA World Cup. And also the taxation of sports persons and the withholding tax thereof has been in the last couple of years been in the media. Also, I think with the doom and the gloom we're experiencing at the moment, it's a nice topic to sprinkle a little bit of icing on the cake, you know.
Absolutely. Is this 15% withholding tax a new type of tax?
No, absolutely not. It is a new legislation, fairly new, but it's not a new type of tax. It's a new method of collecting taxes, and it's been imposed to sports persons and entertainers that are foreigners, and also a similar legislation we see in foreigners that want to sell property in South Africa. The receiver of revenue has experienced a little bit of problems collecting taxes because, as you know, an entertainer that's a foreigner is only in South Africa for a day or two and then they're gone. So the company that pays the entertainer will be one of the people that must be able to pay over the taxes, the withholding taxes, and we don't want to see the receiver of revenue sitting with bad debts of 7 billion rand.
Okay. So I noticed in your article that the main issue actually isn't so much the withholding tax as the inclusion of gifts and earnings that the sportsman or entertainer receives. Can you tell us a bit about that? Exactly.
The whole article is really about the inclusion of the gifts or income into the gross income of a sports person, and the withholding tax is basically just to clarify things on the collection of taxes. The real issue in South Africa is not the inclusion of gifts in the hands of a sports person or an entertainer. As you know, entertainers or sports people can get a gratuity if they're still an amateur. Overseas, it was an issue whether to include it in income. In South Africa, it is included in gross income. But the question in South Africa is whether it is of capital nature or of income nature. Gifts that are of income nature will be taxed in the normal way, included in your income tax. And as most of the people know, capital income is either not taxed or it's taxed at a much lower rate. So that's really the issue here.
But now, in your article, you've referred to two examples of sportsmen. You've referred to the Springboks, who received platinum medals from Mr. Tokyo Siswali after their World Cup victory, and the taxation of golfers. So why have you included these specific examples?
Okay, well, let's start with the Springboks first. First of all, the article was also published in a local magazine, and where I live in Pretoria, there's a couple of Springboks living there. And it's also time for them now to file their 2008 return, so it's very relevant now. And then it's also been a monumental event, you know, the Springboks winning, and it's nice to write an article about South African, and Summer TV being a South African channel and Tax Talk being a South African magazine. So we tried to be relevant in an article so that readers would actually identify with it.
More accessible to the readers.
Sure. And then also the golfers it was actually an easy example to pick, because sometimes a professional or an amateur sports person, it's very subjective, you know, and with a golfer, it's not subjective. If you are an amateur golfer, you cannot receive money, you cannot receive prize money over a certain amount, which is very small. Otherwise, you can never turn pro. Like Tiger Woods, he received, he was winning an amateur tournament, and only like 2 or 3 months later he turned pro. It's for that reason it's been governed by that.
I also noticed in your article you've raised questions that a court of law might raise. Is this because this taxation of sportsmen and entertainers is such a contentious issue at the moment?
I don't think that it's contentious at the moment, but it is a grey area between capital and income for some entertainers and sports people, especially in South Africa. But I think that when there's an issue, it goes to court, and if it goes to court, you need to address it. And for that reason, I have included it to be complete.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gerhardus. If you need more information about this interview, please log on to the Tax Talk website at taxtalk.co.za. You can also contact tax issues on 0861 829 825. Until next week, goodbye.